we do want to focus in on what you saw yesterday, at least probably in the evening news, if you weren't able to watch all of the trial. They're on day 2 right now, and Fani Willis not expected to be taking part in that. There was a pretty bizarre exchange between the attorney, Ashley Merchant, the prosecutors here, and Fani Willis.
She's the lawyer for the
defense attorneys, but
Mike Roman.
Yes,
they seem like prosecutors because it was a backwards.
Right, the adversarial cross-examination, if you will. Take a listen by one.
How did you know to come into the courtroom right then?
There were people I was pacing in my office.
Okay.
And I heard someone yell, "His testimony is done." It only made sense to me that I would be your next witness. And I've been very anxious to have this conversation with you today. So I ran to the courtroom.
So as soon as you heard that Mr. Wade was done testifying, that's when you just assumed you would be the next witness?
It only makes sense.
Did you listen to any of the testimony?
I've been in my office pacing, ma'am.
Did you listen to any of the arguments?
I did hear the arguments this morning. It's ridiculous to me that you lied on Monday, and yet here we still are. And I did listen to that argument.
So right there, she was.
So she cut it off before the witness testimony. Now, Andy, when you've got a recusal rule or a sequestration rule,
I just explain to people because it's kind of like if you've ever been on jury duty.
If you're a witness to a case, they will sequester you. Take you out before the proceedings start, or at least before the witness testimony start. She was careful there. She said, I was pacing during the witnesses. I did listen to the oral arguments.
Well, the arguments are just part of the evidence that is argued by a lawyer to further his or her case. So when she says she listened to the arguments, she listened to the evidence as well. It's inevitable because during the argument, you talk about the evidence. Under the rule of sequestration, no witness is supposed to be in the courtroom when another witness is testifying, or not only in the courtroom, but listen to anything that is going on in the courtroom, because that way you fabricate the testimony to fit what the prior witness said. So what Fani Willis did here was, in my view, violate the rule of sequestration by listening to the argument with respect to the evidence in the case.
Yeah, all right, so there you go. So that could be an issue right there. Let's take Melissa's call. She's calling on line 1. She's got a question about this. Melissa, welcome to the broadcast. You're on the air.
Hello. My question is, I believe in the USDA and the Department of Justice. There is a rule in the law about fraternization between people. That would be like lawyers and all that.
Well, you can't fraternize with witnesses. You can't fraternize with jurors. That is true, by the way, in state and federal proceedings. Go ahead with your question.
Well, my question is the conflict of interest that it definitely shows. And she says she did nothing wrong in her own testimony.
And so what you have to define is what is the conflict of interest. That the standard is, would the prosecutor's actions undermine a confidence in the judicial system? So you watched some of this, Melissa. What did you think?
I've been listening to it back and forth, and I believe that there is a conflict of interest between the two attorneys there, but I believe that it is to undermine President Trump.
Yeah. So, Melissa, it's not a conflict of interest as much as an appearance of impropriety, okay? Under the Georgia case law, a prosecutor in a case is supposed to have the integrity that is necessary to pursue justice, not a conviction, but justice in the case. That's what I did as a prosecutor in Georgia for 20 years of my life, okay? And what happens in this case is, if you have so compromised the integrity of your office that it undermines the confidence of the public in the criminal justice system, and you become the focus rather than the defendant in the case, then that gives the judge grounds, if he wants to or if she wants to, and feels that it's appropriate, to disqualify you from the case and to have the governor in this case appoint another prosecutor.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
If she is disqualified, what happens, Andy?
The entire office is disqualified. That means the district attorney's office for Fulton County is out of the case, and Georgia Code Section 45-5-3.2 kicks in, and that is the governor appoints the special prosecutor or the DA pro tem to take over the litigation. And that district attorney who is appointed or prosecutor, sometimes it's a DA from a neighboring circuit or another circuit in the state. That DA is called a DA pro tempore for the time being. That DA can do anything that DA would ordinarily do in a criminal case,
including dismissing the indictment.
Null processing, which is Georgia jargon for dismissing the indictment.
Yeah, so I mean, if she is removed, that could become a very, very big deal. Your gut instinct is she gets disqualified?
That's what I think. I think there's plenty there for Judge McAfee to find that the focus of attention becomes the prosecutor rather than the prosecuted, the defendant. And because the integrity of the office has been so compromised in the case of Fani Willis, that the judge could say, I'm going to disqualify you, get another prosecutor in here so the focus can be on the defendants.
Talking about the hostility, let's just play. We got time. Let's play. This is an exchange between Attorney Merchant and Fani Willis.
Isn't it true that you met Mr. Wade October 2019 at a judge's conference?
We haven't gotten to the point where Ms. Willis should be treated hostile in this
I think we have.
I very much want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be
Not
here.
so much that you're hostile, Ms. Willis, it'd be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to Ms. Merchant's.
Thank you.
Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
Okay, that was a ridiculous statement. Ms. Merchant is a defense lawyer doing what defense lawyers do. This is where this is getting into the level of absurd. It'll be very interesting to see what this judge does. I think we'll know that next week. We may get that New York opinion later today.
Obviously, you've got defense attorneys who are kind of like in this definitely adversarial role here because they're kind of like prosecuting the DA in a sense of trying to remove Fani Willis from the case. So this is, again, it's not a criminal prosecution, and she wouldn't lose her job as district attorney. Though what comes of this could certainly lead to potential investigations where she could lose her job and potentially be criminally liable. That's not what's at stake here. It's whether or not she can run this case, or does she need to be replaced by the governor and someone who comes in as district attorney to decide whether or not to carry this case on or not. Not just about President Trump, but about the other 15 or so defendants. But the tone, we played that supercut of the left kind of freaking out and melting down. But the tone from her in response to these questions, trying to figure out what was this relationship that you had with the special counsel that you paid $700,000 to, who has no experience in RICO, to run a RICO case and be a specialist in that for you. Take a listen to how she responded by 14.
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth.
Judge,
and it is a lie. It is a lie.
There you go. The judge stepped in.
Said Miss Whitley, they took a break, actually, is what they did. They took a 5-minute break after that, after she was declared a hostile witness. Yeah, I don't know what the judge is going to do, but it's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, it is.
It is embarrassing.
It undercuts, in my view, the criminal justice system when you have a district attorney who is so personally enmeshed in the case and has done such personal things with respect to the prosecutor in the case, the other prosecutor, and has taken these attitudes that it undermines really the idea of who the defendant is and who the prosecutor is.
I agree.